welcome back to the Ascend Bible Church podcast. This is Pastor Mitch hanging out once again.
What's up?
With Pastor John.
I'm here.
You got the faithful two today, the pillars of the podcast, alliteration for sermon points. But
there we go.
Hey, we're going to do something a little bit different today. I asked John just to think through a few things that God has been teaching him this summer. We've both had kind of different summers, and at the same time, I've said, I want to think through a few things that God's been teaching me. And then we've switched the list. So you have my list, I have your list.
Yep.
And we're going to just have a conversation around those things. I imagine in some ways that this is going to be even a little bit more of, I don't feel like vulnerable is the right word, but probably more raw.
Yeah.
I do think it's good though, especially in this medium, for us to take the time to share with you guys, hey, what's God been teaching us? What's God's been showing us? Because you're probably seeing it or sniffing it in our leadership or decisions we're doing as a church. And so we're like, why not have a deeper conversation about those things? And we have the podcast and it allows us to do that. And so we're going to dive into those things without really knowing where they're going. And so John, I'm going to read your first one. Okay. So, 3 things I'm learning through this summer. Number 1, you wrote the word gratitude down.
Yeah.
All the lyrics to the song, right?
Right. Actually has nothing to do with the song.
I know. Yeah.
It just has to do with the word gratitude. One of the things that I am very prone to is to just complain and be negative toward things and very critical. And so one of the things that Betsy, my wife, has been pushing me to do is to, like, at the end of each day, just stop and think of a few things that I'm thankful for of the day. Because naturally I don't want to do those things. I'm like, I just want to criticize. And so, I mean, I've only been doing it for a few days, like 4 or 5. But one of the things I'm realizing is that when you are doing things like that, you become less and less critical of things that are happening because your focusing is on something completely different. And so, just learning to be thankful for the little things in life, like the kids got along during this amount of time today.
Yeah. The daily miracles.
I got to, sit and read a book for an hour, just little things like that where normally I'm focusing on like what went wrong today. Yeah. And like, here are my grievances or here's my venting toward it. And just refocusing on like, what was I thankful for today? Yeah. What did I see God doing even in the middle of craziness?
Yeah. We both can have that bent, which can be a dangerous combo, And I totally hear that. I had someone tell me once, it was like, we're called to be critical, but don't become a critic. And I think I drift towards being a critic. Yeah. And not always like healthy criticism, or critique, Right.
And one of the things about my criticism is I never have any solutions. And so it's just like, I'm just there venting and complaining and have no real idea how to fix any of the things, which just festers and breeds more criticism and goes deeper.
And gratitude and creating moments and systems. Yeah. Like it almost seems like sometimes I don't think we want to have to have those systems in place. Yeah. But if we're honest, we need it to go daily. I'm going to remind myself of the things I'm grateful for.
Yeah. And like, what's crazy is the amount of tools at our disposal is unreal. Yeah. So there's an app literally called Gratitude.
Oh, that's cool.
And so what it does is
they're sponsoring this podcast.
Maybe
they're
we'll
not,
see.
But that'd be cool. It feels like the way we're leading in, they should be, we'll send them this clip.
There we go. We'll see what we can get out of it. Anyway, it sends me a notification at like 9:00. And then what it also does is when I finish the journal, it sends Betsy a notification that I did it.
Oh yeah.
And so then she's able to read it and I can read hers and things like that. So like that's just kind of a cool little tool that I've been using, but
it's really cool.
All right. Are we going to go through every list or just alternate?
Oh, we'll alternate.
Okay. All right. The thing you have first is plant gospel seeds, trust God for fruit.
Yeah. I been reminded in this block party season I think there's such a tendency when we do a block party, host a block party, we're like, who's going to show up tomorrow? And I can't wait to see who comes tomorrow, and there's this almost this expectation of like, if I go do blank, it's going to produce blank. And the reality is like, that's just not what the Bible teaches on sowing gospel seeds. We're called to go, we're called to share, and then God controls the fruit. And I've just been reminded in this season, it really happened in the very beginning of this summer, through a really small thing I don't even know if you'd necessarily call it gospel fruit, but it was just a really good reminder. I was thinking about like, we had a family, and I mentioned this a couple times, but we had a family that we met at a Southport like festival thing that we had a table at.
Wasn't there Halloween festival last year?
I don't think it was the Halloween one, but it was like the fall festival.
One of the fall festivals or something.
And we meet this family, and they're a part of like a house church group. And they're like, man, love to hear what you guys are doing. We're just glad there's another faithful Bible preaching church in town. We actually struggled to find one, so that's why we made this thing. And then Memorial Day weekend rolls around, and I'm actually gone preaching in another church. This is this year now. Okay. Yeah. So we met them last year. This is like last fall.
Right.
And then on Memorial Day weekend, this family shows up to our church, and right as we head into block party season. And I really think one of the things the Lord was using that for was to remind me that like, we have no control of the fruit. Like right. we had a conversation with these people last fall, did not hear a word from them, and then they show up at our church in May. And we seen that. I can give other examples of that, but it was such a reminder for me of like, just faithfully sow gospel seeds. And I'll find myself when I'm running or I'm thinking about it, and I'm getting more excited about the seed sowing. And just going, man, I can't even imagine what the fruit's like. Like I think about the block parties, and I think about, some of the little kids we interacted with and have a positive experience in the church. And I'm like, there's a potential that we never see them again, but yet the Lord uses this to lead them somewhere else. And I'm like, isn't that like what we want to be about?
Yeah.
That like when we, hit the grave one day, that we can just go, man, we sowed all these seeds and we don't even know the fruit of our labor.
Right.
And so I just finding more joy in the labor, and going, yeah, God, I'm excited to see what fruit we get to see take hold, what fruit we don't ever even get to see. But I just believe if these are the things that you've called us to do, that you're going to produce fruit out of them, and we might see some of it. We might not,
Yeah.
So a greater excitement around that, I think.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Trust the Lord for what he's bringing.
Yeah. So. And it's just when you do 2 block parties in a day, and you're like, man, we interacted with probably 200-ish people the day that we've never met before in our lives. You're like, I can't imagine what kind of fruit can come out of that.
Yeah.
You just can't even write all those stories,
Yeah.
So, all right.
That's good.
Ready for your next one?
Yeah.
Number 2, people.
So, I mean, I wrote a lot of these out of, like my natural tendency would be to close myself up and just study and read and not interact with people.
It's not my natural tendency. This is where we start to differ.
Yep. So, but what I'm coming to learn, and even through the time where, I was essentially gone for 2.5 weeks, closed up in my house for recovering from surgery and stuff, was that ministry is about people. And so, in fact, this came through reading a book called Raised to Stay.
Yeah.
Why to stay in ministry when you have a million reasons to leave.
Yeah.
And one of the opening arguments, I guess, that the author makes is, you never know who needs your presence if you were to leave. And she gives like this really cool story about this guy who was a skeptic of the faith. They were singing a song. She's like, I felt prompted by the Holy Spirit to sing the chorus again. And I was on a time crunch. So I said, no, we're just going to end it. Yeah. And she goes, I walked out, and this guy who never comes in for the worship service, like that was part of the big part of the story. He never comes in for worship service, but on the way out, he stopped her and said, you stopped me early today. She goes, what do you mean? He's like, I came in for worship and I wanted to sing that chorus one more time and you stopped it. And so she just like, you never know who needs you to be obeying and listening to the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And it turns out like that story, like by her last Sunday there, she ended up going to another church. He's on the front row with his hands raised and singing the same song. And she's like, that was just a powerful moment for me. You never know who needs you. Because ministry is about people. It's not about building our platform. It's not about making any church grow, huge numbers or whatever. It's about being with people, which is what's really cool about like our block parties and the gospel fruit. Like we never know who needs our presence in any moment. And that it goes back to your first one, plant gospel seeds and just trust the Lord. Like, we don't know why God put us in these certain apartment complexes like that we're trying to minister to. And we never know who's going to come to those things and who's going to need an encouraging word that day or whatever. And they may never come to our church, but that was what they needed to get through that day.
You mentioned, you used the word pillar, so I'll go there.
Yeah.
But we both have read a book this summer by an author that we both have come to like a lot.
Yeah.
Pastor Mark Sayers wrote a book called Platforms to Pillars.
Yeah.
What are some of the takeaways from that book?
Well, I'm going to jump ahead here to my number 3.
Okay,
then.
we'll let you do your number 3 then.
So number 3, I put be thankful for where you are. One of the struggles I have is like, I don't know if you would say wanting it to be a bigger role, but feeling more important. And I'm just coming to realize that that's stupid. Like to put it just bluntly, that's stupid. Where God has put me is exactly where I need to be. And my job is to be faithful in the middle of that.
Yeah.
And so like it comes more of like if I could go a whole podcast about just where the Lord has taken me, but like wanting to be in ministry, being asked to leave ministry, working in car service, and then working in mortgages for 8 years combined. Like I have come a long way from that guy who graduated college thinking he was going to take over the world one soul at a time. Like
I know that guy.
And so, like it comes back to like, God has put me through so many different life circumstances that some were tough, some were like not so tough, but they also were shaping me into what I need to be. And my job is just to be faithful today.
Yeah.
And again, plant gospel seeds and allow God to give growth and fruit wherever that may be, whether that's in my own life or the lives of people that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Ministry is about people. And it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about...
it's not about self-fulfillment.
Yeah.
It's not, I think there's this idea in all that we do in life and in the way that many approach church, and we all do this at times. We think the ultimate goal is that we feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
And so where if we look at like actually how the first century Christians more lived, it was about sacrifice and what is it going to cost them? And yet we don't necessarily face those same everyday pressures.
Right.
So therefore we've made the gospel about self-fulfillment, and then it affects all of us, and so I think even in some ways as you step into different ministry roles, I'm speaking about myself, and it's like you go, oh, this is going to fulfill me. You're like, oh, when I get married, that's going to fulfill me. Oh, when I have kids, that's going to fulfill me. Oh, when I'm in this position, in this seat, in this role, doing these things, preaching this many times a year, you're like, that's going to fulfill me. Or if our church grows to this, and it's like, the reality is at some point you have to come to recognize, I have to come to recognize that those things don't fulfill me.
Right.
Like they're not going to actually ever get there.
There's always going to be the quest for more.
That's supposed to fulfill.
Yeah.
So read my number 3.
All right.
Because it's a good launch from this one.
I do what I love to do.
Yeah, which is honestly birthed out of this. I think there's a wrestle in ministry and even in planting. You know, I'm sure there's many people in our church that you think about our church on Sunday mornings, and I feel like we walk away from every Sunday and we're so encouraged by what the Lord's doing.
Yeah,
but then we still go, yeah, but I can't wait till we have a building.
Yep.
But yeah, I can't wait until this many people are here, or we grow to the size of this church, or I can't wait till we do, you know, and we're always drawn towards more. One of the things I've been reflecting on recently, at least for me, like in my seat as the pastor of this church, is that no matter how many people are there, or if we have a building or not, I wake up every single day and I do the things I want to do.
Yeah.
With the same amount of capacity that I would have bigger or smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And so this discontentment is not rooted in something that's healthy. It's not rooted in position or the things that the Lord's called me to. It's rooted in kind of like you're expressing, it's like a discontentment with what God has me in right now, when the reality is there's actually so much joy that you're missing, that I'm missing,
right?
Because I'm not recognizing that the Lord's using me in the ways that I want to. And so, I just think it's been a reminder for me. Every day I wake up, I'm like, man, you're doing exactly what you want to do today. Like, praise God for that. You know, kind of back to your first one a little bit.
Yeah.
So
20-year-old us would love to be sitting in the seat.
Yeah.
We're in,
and you're like, praise God for it. You know, why are we drawn towards discontentment? You know, so I told you guys it's gonna be a little bit more vulnerable of an episode. Yeah. So I said, a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more raw.
I'm curious about your number 2. Can we go to that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. It says it's so easy to drift.
Yeah. So in some sense, I think this is true across the board. Is that over time and everything, it kind of the initial interest wears off. You know, and so if in the personal life, I'll get spiritual, but like, you know, in running, it's like, you know, you start running, you're fired up about it, you're all excited. And then over time, like that excitement wears off, you know, and they even say like with your body, it's like you're losing weight, burning calories. Well, over time, your body like will store more and more. And the initial effect of that changes, you know, or you go to all different areas of life. And spiritually, I think it's true too. You could start a discipline and then over time, it's like, it kind of like wears off, you know? Right. I think as our church is approaching 2 years old in October, there's clear things that God has been molding us into. This church that's like, practices presence and is very missional, but also is going to work hard to faithfully preach the word and have a healthy prayer culture. I would say like those are kind of the 3 buckets that, you know, that we see is like we want to be about prayer, we want to be about the word, and we want to be about being in the community, you know, and seeing God kind of mold us into that, you know, over time. And when we're doing those things and we're practicing those things, but just as I mentioned with the last one, other things can cause you to drift, you know? And so, you know, we faithfully were walking through the potential of adopting Community Church of Murphy's Landing for a long time. And over time, your mind just starts to shift to go like, oh, if we had a building, if we had, and I think if I'm honest, like there's a little bit of mission drift in that. Yeah. Like you create a false finish line. You know, I had a guy tell me once, a pastor I worked with, Jason Gallman, great mentor to me. And he would say like, so many parents have a false finish line for their kids and it's 18 years old. And it's like, your kids don't die at 18. They just leave the house, you know? And so he's like, that's not a finish line. Like we make it one. And then the problem is you're trying to get them all ready for 18. I think in some sense, as the pastor of your church, there's a little bit of like there was a false finish. I knew it wasn't a finish line. I would have never said that. But this like, oh, if we just got in a building and then this is the way I think it's going to happen right now, then everything will be well. Yeah. And I think if I really look back at the last 6 months or so, it's caused some slight mission drift in that it became so focused on that. Again, you only have so much time and so many things you can put your energy into that we drifted away, not from the prayer, not from the preaching of the word. I like those things I think maintained throughout all of that, and probably strengthened at the same time.
Yeah.
But that presence, missional part of being in the community, seeing the gospel advance. And so, just a reminder. It was like, hey, as your church does, Lord willing, one day approach, a more permanent facility or solution, be careful with the mission drift.
Yeah.
Like what is your role, and how much time are you supposed to put into that to make sure that the mission doesn't drift, you know? And so like one thing we're doing is we're working on forming a small, what we're calling like a building task force, which is people that to have their eyes and ears thinking about this that aren't you and I.
Yeah.
So we can probably make sure the mission doesn't drift, Yeah. So we could talk
good.
about that for hours.
I mean, even like the leading up to finding a building, but then once we're in a building, Lord willing, like that also, like you see churches mission drift after that, because then you let your guard down. You're like, oh, now we're more permanent. We're stable. We don't need to do this, and this anymore, but we need to start doing this, and this. And your identity shifts.
Yeah. And it's like atrophy. I mean, again, it's a natural law. And so it's like just trying to be aware that we stay focused on the kingdom advancing, regardless of where the Lord has us. It really hit home for me one day when you and I were talking, and you just made a reference to like setting up and tearing down a church is hard. And we're approaching a number of times doing it that we don't know the number. Like we can't think of it quick, because you're like, it's over 100, or it's probably close to 100 now or something like that.
52 weeks in a year. So we're getting close to 100.
You're like, we're getting there. And as you do that, you're like, man, it's so hard, but it's like, it is worth it to see the gospel advance. But if the mission becomes about something else, well, then it's no longer worth it. Yeah. And so I think recognizing the potential to do that and even in me, and what do I focus in, and then being reminded that like, no, the Lord has me here first and foremost to bring him glory. And I'm not talking about a Sin Bible Church. I'm just talking about Mitch Green right now. And then the primary way I do that is through the advancement of the Great Commission, through gospel advancement. And so then now as a church, that is primarily what we're on this earth to do, an existing community. So it's like we need to stay faithful to these things. And I'm not saying like we were ever unfaithful. I'm just saying like I think the Lord caught us at the right time and then redirected us that now that we're heading into the summer, it was like, here is this tremendous season of presence and outreach and renewed energy. So,
no, it's been good. Anything else to add today?
No, you got anything, brother?
No.
All right. Well, there you go. Yeah. You guys want to ask us more, a little bit about what the Lord's been teaching us, what we've been wrestling through personally. And I'm sure you've sniffed it in our teaching and preaching and in different ways as we lead here at the church. But we'd love to deep dive into these more. And we'd love for your thoughts. Again, we're getting comments here and there on these videos. And so I'd love if, what's the Lord been teaching you this summer? We'd love to celebrate that with you and dive into that more. So, Well, church family, we'll see you back on the podcast next week. See you Sunday morning, 10 a.m. at Prairie 6.
See ya.